So you are in for a treat. This guy is one of the hardest working guys I've seen. He literally flew in this morning and is flying out again at the end of the day to go to the next one. A great friend of ours, Justin Nelson from Spear Rocket.
Awesome. How are you guys today? Great. Cool. Well, first off, Tracy, I don't personally know you, but I just want to say thank you for bringing you up on stage because I'm going to tell you guys a quick little story. I do about 270-ish days a year on the road. I do about 202 stages. I don't know how my wife stays married to me while I'm on the road that much, but the reason why my wife lets me do that is people like you, and we'll talk about that. I do the same presentation 220 times out of the 222 times. I got a text this morning and said, I don't know who it's from still, it said, change your presentation. I was like, I've only done this presentation one other time in LA for Brent. And that presentation is gonna piggyback perfectly off of yours. I don't think that that's just someone randomly telling me to change my presentation. It is. And so we're gonna, Dave doesn't know this, we changed our presentation a little bit. And as a sponsor, I'll just be very transparent with you guys. We obviously do virtual assistants, but why I'm here is different than virtual assistants, so we'll talk about that. But just to kind of dive into my background, first off, I'll be here the rest of the night, so if you guys have any questions about just leverage in general, I want to be a resource. I started Sphere Rocket VA February of 2020, and since then we now have 7,200 full-time virtual assistants, 4,500 of those placed within the EXP realm, and 7,200 across the globe. And so I had to grow up real fast, right? I'm 27 years old. I now manage 7,200 people, some in a pseudo fashion. I had to grow up really fast. So that's my background. I started in real estate at 14 years old. I started off as an inside sales agent. I worked at Keller Williams at the time, and I probably did a lot of illegal things you're not supposed to do when you're unlicensed at 14 years old, right? Cold calling, that's kind of where I got my background. Got licensed between 18 and 21, built a team to about 40 agents, and then sold that off. So I only share that to go, if you guys have any questions about just leverage in general, even if it's not VAs, even if it's your personal assistant, building teams, selling teams, that's what I specialize in. So even outside of VAs, please come and just chat about that. With that being said, I do have about 140 virtual, I do have about 140 virtual assistants on my own personal staff, all real estate based for the most part. So I just want to just put that out there to say, cool, I'm an expert in it, come and get my help. But let's get to why this is so special to me. I'm obviously going to share some tactics on how to best use VAs and some things like that. But even more than this, has anybody ever seen this chart before? This is a chart of what an agent is responsible for each and every day, whether it's through your team, whether it's through your brokerage, whether it's through different pieces. This is what you as an agent are in charge of. Now, I see the complete opposite side of the game. What I didn't tell you is when I was 21 years old and sold the team, I also wanted to end my life because here's why. I had made my first $1 million by myself. I had an ego, and I felt that it would be super cool to be the first person that I knew around me in my circles to make $1 million by myself. What do you think I found out when I made that first $1 million by myself? It was easier with the team, and I gained every addiction that you could possibly imagine on that way. Alcohol, porn, drugs, every single bit of it came directly because I wanted to do the business myself. I want you guys all to think of someone. If they're in the room, just point them out to me. I'm kidding. But does anybody have that solo agent in your market that just looks like they're absolutely at the pinnacle of success? That solo agent that, they're netting 60, 70% of their income because they don't have a lot of expenses. They jump up into their Escalade and zoom off, and sometimes we're just a little bit envious of them. Anybody have that in their market? Don't lie. It's everywhere. One of the things I was talking about Dave before, when you really dig into those types of people, usually 9 times out of 10, would you trade positions in their life? 9 times out of 10, we will not. There's always a rare one, right, that can pull it off and, keep balance. But 9 times out of 10, when there isn't leverage in someone's life at some level, that's what happens. Now, before I kind of dive in to some of the specifics here, who in here wants an assistant one day or has an assistant right now? If you're not raising your hand, I think you're absolutely insane. Right? We've been talking a lot about rev share. I have a revenue share organization. We've been talking a lot about team building. One of the things I dare you to look at when you look at people on stage, when you look at people in revenue share groups, and you look at different people around the industry, whenever you're like, man, I wish I had a little bit more success like they did, I think that can be a positive thing sometimes. When I compare myself to Brent, what's the number one thing Brent has that I don't? He has more what in his life? He has more relationships, he has more leverage, he has more people. He has more leverage because he's got a big organization, he has more people. Usually that team owner that's got more leverage than you has more admin than you. Usually that solo agent with higher profit margins has more admin than you. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about. Now, who in here has kids? Okay, and this is why I'm on the road, guys. 7,200 VAs, I could have gotten off the road 6,000 ago. I have lucky to achieve that financial independence, but here's why I'm here. For those that have kids, the stat shows right now, once your kid hits the 18 years old, you will only see them on average 722 more times if they live in a different state and you make 50 grand a year. That stat almost triples if you make 300 grand or more a year. You guys comprehend that? If you make 50 grand a year, once your kid hits 18 years old, you will only see them 722 more times on average. That almost triples if you make 300 grand or more a year. Now, some of you are like, well, Justin, I'm already there. We'll talk about that. But what I want to talk about at some level in business, things are going to get hard. Whenever I never thought at 27 years old I'd be standing on stage trying to convince grown men and women why they need leverage in their life. That wasn't my dream as a kid. I wanted to be like a baseball player. But the reason I got addicted to it is I saved my own life. My first virtual assistant changed my life when I could figure out I could build a business that wasn't just so grind. I went to a conference. What do you need to do more? 60 open houses. I did it in a month. No friends, no family, no different things like that. And so the reason why I share this chart is a lot of you are getting absolutely railroaded because you're in your own way. One of the things Tony Robbins has taught me personally is this. Most business owners over the age of 35 are extremely, incredibly deep-rooted in the past. And what I mean by that, if you're 35 or older, it means your parents or your grandparents came from a very depressionized era. That is built inside of your system, and it makes you hesitant to making hires for several different reasons. Number one, protecting yourself and your family by not putting out cash and leverage. Number two, those insides have taught you to make excuses that are just guarding. The number one excuse I get, and I'm going to have you guys shout them out for me, when I say, hey, I think you should hire an assistant today, what do you think the number one reason is why someone says, I can't do that right now? Don't have the money, it's too expensive. That's actually not true. It's weird when we analyze our sales call, that's not the number one thing by far. The number one thing someone says to me is, Justin, I don't have time to train or manage someone in my life right now. Would you guys see what that could be possible? Who does not have time to train or manage someone in your life right now? Okay, cool. So what Tony Robbins taught me is all that is, it just means your self-development is here and needs to get to here. And here's why. When we look at this chart, you would rather answer a phone on vacation than be present with your kid. You would rather go and figure out how to install a sign in the yard that could be done for $6, $7, $8, $10 an hour rather than be with your kid. Some of you in this room right now, statistically, I speak on 222 stages a year, statistically, 32% of you are within 16 months of divorce or a filing. 32% of this room was within 16 months of filing for a divorce. Statistically, that stat goes down to about 11% if there is one admin in the business owner's life. Just one admin in the business person's life. Now, does that make common sense to most of y'all? Right? But sometimes you need someone to shove it in your face. Because I had to get it shoved in my face. And so to know that just by getting an admin, and I'm not saying VAs, guys, like I said, it doesn't have to be a VA. It can be an in-person assistant. It could be go find your own VA. It doesn't matter. But just having one admin in your life gets rid of at least 10, 20, 30% of those. I'm not saying go and get an assistant that can do every single one. I'm saying go get someone so you can go to your daughter's practice. So you can go on vacation and spend a day or two away. Does that make sense to everybody? And that's why I'm on the road, is because stories like that, what I would have regretted at 22, 23 is if I lost someone. Because my business got in the way. We all get in business for something, but yet we usually let that business be the reason why we can't do the things we got into the business for. We get into the business to do something, And then the business gets exactly in the way of the things that we want to do. And so I share that to kind of go like this. When you're going to go through hiring, and this could be growing revenue share groups, this could be hiring in-person assistants, it could be hiring your first per-file TC company because you just want to try something new. Guys, the first time you hire a VA, an in-person assistant, a per-file TC company, and you have not done it, it is going to suck. Do you know how bad it's going to suck? Probably worse than when I had to get on a treadmill last week for the first time in a few years. And that sucked, I can promise you. Right? And so I always like to joke that, like, it's going to suck. So I always like to challenge people. If you can do this, imagine you're always with Tony Robbins. When I'm on a coaching call or a sales call and someone goes, yeah, I don't have time to train someone right now. I literally will turn my screen off and put Tony Robbins on the screen, and then I talk to them. I'd say, imagine I'm Tony Robbins. Would you say that to Tony Robbins? Would you say that to your kid in 12 years when you tell them what you missed? And so the reason I share that, guys, is my first virtual assistant changed my life. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a VA, but look at ways to leverage. Last year, I had 90 one-on-one coaching clients that I met with every single week. Insane. Don't know why I did that, but I loved it. Do you guys know the number one thing that was always fought about between spouses when I did surveys? It's almost never that you're not home enough. It's doing chores. It's who's going to cut the lawn. Right? The things me and my spouse fight about sometimes is who's taking out the trash. And what's crazy is for how high level we are, these are a lot of things that I challenge you to try and look at leveraging. Your spouse is overwhelmed, maybe pay someone to do their laundry. You're spending too much time on the lawn or it's getting outgrown and someone's getting on you, maybe outsource that, right? And so I always like to take people through the step of leverage. Doesn't have to be a full-time hire, but look at ways to leverage your life that can be unique. So I believe every business should have a virtual component. I believe you can protect profits. I believe you can increase the pool of talent. I believe you get to learn leadership skills. Who has never had a personal assistant before in here? I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm biased to this, of course. Guys, it is really cool when you pay someone $4, $5, $6 an hour to learn all of your horrible leadership skills and not see 10, 20, 30, 50, 60, 100 grand go away. Does that make sense? At $4, $5, $6 an hour, our VAs are making a great living. Absolutely amazing living. But what I learned was I got to learn a lot of my leadership skills and not feel like I just put my family at risk during that time. And so a few just random facts before I keep kind of hitting you with guys some things. These are the top 10 positions we hired last year in the real estate industry. Up in this quadrant, we don't do a lot of ISA work. Your guys' estates scare the hell out of me when it comes to cold calling. But as far as executive admin and personal admin, those are the two biggest hires we've ever made. Does anyone want to guess why a personal assistant is the number one hire we make? Because who is the biggest mess in the business? Me, right? We always make excuses of why we don't have time for something. Next thing, top 9 virtual positions we are focused on in 24. Guys, I give you this chart for one reason. You can find the assistant that you need at an affordable rate. VAs are a great option, like I said, to learn at an affordable rate what we're doing. Top limiting beliefs around virtual assistants. I won't dig too much on this. Surveyed in my Northeast presentations, what do you think the number one hesitation people have to VAs are? Language. What about language? Strong accent. Okay. Hard to understand. Now, I'm going to be very clear here. I believe that there's a difference between strong accent and hard to understand. Some countries are very hard to understand, like there's a barrier of understanding. Others, we're just scared of accents. If you guys don't mind real fast, if you're in this room and you grew up with an accent and you have an accent different than the majority of the room, could you please stand up? Stand up, stand up. If you have an accent different than everybody else in the room. Cool, perfect, I love it. And so what I like to say, and you guys can sit down, thank you, 15, 20 people, guys, if you won't try a virtual assistant or some type of leverage because of an accent, well then I don't believe you belong in EXP. Because what I know about EXP is I believe EXP is a globally inclusive company that believes that talent can be anywhere in the world, and regardless of your economic status, you can be just as smart as anybody else. You can be just as successful as anybody else. So if someone looks me in the eye and says, I won't try a VA because of an accent, I say, cool, well, I better never see someone with an accent on your team then. You better tell every interview you have you won't hire them because of their accent. And so I just challenge you guys on that, because some of you guys could have a whole different life if you just spend a few bucks an hour. And if it's not through me, that's fine. Guys, I don't need your money. I don't need anything like that. But I just want to share that. Now, with that being said, let's say, sir, you have a question for me after today. And you go, hey, Justin, what kind of virtual assistant should I get? Ask me that.
You only good on Zoom?
What kind of VA do you need? Ask me. Ask me. No, you ask me, what kind of VA do you need? If I gave him any answer right now, would it be truthful? Why is it not truthful? I don't know anything about him. I don't even know his name. I don't know his income. I don't know anything about his goals. And so the reason I say that is this is why I wrote a book. Are you guys cool if I give you a free gift? One of my team members is going to pass out a piece of paper, and I'll talk about it. But the free gift is this. The free gift is this book right here. I interviewed over 450 EXP agents and wrote this 900 pages, almost 1,100 I think now. It is a manual that has every position we have ever hired inside of it. You guys cool if I give that to you? Now, do you know how to use this? However you want. You can throw it away when you walk out. I'm going to Detroit build tomorrow, so I don't know. But here's what you can do with it. If you have an assistant now, barrel down on them. If you go get your own VA through a different company or you self-source them, use this. If you get a VA through us, use it because it will help change your life. And here's what's in that book. My team member is going to pass out a document right now to help you guys claim this. So, now, why do you think I didn't put a QR code up here and say scan this to get the book? Why did I not just put up a QR code to scan? Because you're going to scan it, and then what are you going to do? Never know that it exists. Guys, I'm going to give you a quick little cool trick and tip. I see so many of you taking photos of things on the screen. You are never going to look at it again. There is an app that you should use. It's called Event Reminder. I might or might not own it. You take, I don't, by the way. It's called Event Reminder. You store your pictures in there, and in a year from now, it will remind you of all the photos and send it to you in an email. Because again, someone said it earlier, we don't need more information, we need to be what? Reminded. So just a quick little tip and trick for you. So as we pass that out, all you're gonna do is just drop your name, email, phone number. I'm gonna get you a copy both by phone and text so you don't lose it, and then in about 3 months, I'll remind you of it. In 6 months, I'll remind you again. Not to say come buy a VA from us, but to remind you about the leverage you need in your life. So here's how to use the book. Once you figure out, okay, maybe I need a video editor, for example. You open up the book, it's gonna have the top 100 tasks that a video editor should be doing for you. Cool, that's just the task. The next thing it's gonna give you is it's gonna give you their 30, 60, 90-day benchmarks. It says by day 30, your video editor should be able to do this. Your personal assistant should be able to do this. At day 30, if they can't do those tasks, what do you think I do with my VA? I fire them. Guys, people think Sphere Rocket gives them the best VA the first time. No. I'm going to try my best, but do you know my best clients? They're the ones that got an absolute horrible VA the first time, and they did what? They fired them and persevered like they should. They didn't quit, right? And you're like, Justin, that's not a very good sales pitch for your company. Well, guys, when I place 7,200 VAs, 1,000 of the 7,200 are going to be duds. If I had figured out perfect humanized recruiting, I'd be a billionaire, and I would probably not be on this stage, right? I'd be doing other things. And so with that being said, it also has all the KPIs and what they should be doing at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. You're like, I need a showing assistant coordinator. Got you. I need someone to help me make my revenue share calls and call my call people and just love on them. Got you. Every single one of those positions is in there, and then we put a list of all the software we use. That make sense to you guys? Cool. So I'm going to be here today. Don't get up after my talk. I will be here later to talk with everybody. All you got to do is fill that document out, drop it by our booth. I will give you two things. I'll give you a physical copy of the book where you can download it. I will text it, email it to you. You will never forget that you need more leverage in your life. If you don't want me to remind you of leverage, do not fill out that form, right? One of my coaches says spam is only spam because of the quality of the content that's sent. So I will remind you. If you want to stop being reminded of leverage, I will text you, what did you leverage in your personal life this week? What did you not leverage in your business this week? Just to be a constant reminder of today's talk. With that being said, once you guys leave today, you'll see about 15 iPads that are standing up in the hallways on stands. If you ever want me to deep dive with you and just be an absolute savage and just be like, really gut you on this is where you need leverage or this is where you need to get to add some more leverage, those iPads are free calls with our auditors. They're not sales calls. We're not trying to pitch you VAs. Those are audit calls. Those audit calls are where we dig. We dig deep and go, you need to let someone mow your lawn, right? Some of us have ego. Some of us have been stuck on our ways. Some of us mow our lawn because your dad mowed his lawn,
right? And so there's these things that I challenge you with. Obviously, I usually challenge people in the business with how to best put things into their business, even little things that you just can't see. I will also tell you, hey, you don't need any leverage right now. You need to grow a little bit more and create some more revenue. So as you guys fill those out, just drop them by at the end of the day, not between sessions. I won't take them. Drop them off at the end of the day. I can't wait. I got to see our next speaker in Bill Dallas. I definitely cried. I hope he's got something just as strong coming your guys' way. But I want to thank you guys so much for your time and for being here. And I'll be here tonight to hang out with you guys. So thank you.